Okay, so step one, in a pan add a decent glug of olive oil and 1 chopped onion, cook over a medium heat and cook until it's nicely translucent. When the onion has softened up and has become translucent, add about 5 sliced mushrooms and 1 clove of sliced or chopped garlic into the pan and cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. Okay, while that's frying down, I'm preparing the nuts. I've got some cashews, some Brazils and a whole bunch of red skin peanuts. You can use any mixture of nuts you like. There's probably about 400 grams, maybe 500 grams in here. The red skin peanuts are the cheapest. They're the most nutritious nuts you can use. They're full of loads of protein and amino acids and all that sort of stuff. These need to be processed into a kind of very fine chopped nut. It depends how you like your nut roast. If you like them really sort of firm, then grind them down into a real fine powder. If you like them sort of bitty and sort of falling apart a little bit, then make them more coarse or whatever you want, but just grind them down. Okay, so I've ground my nuts down kind of fairly fine with some little chunks in there. You can get creative and do sort of half and half, or some broken, some ground, or whatever you like. These are raw nuts. They're not roasted or salted or anything. I've used roasted hazelnuts before and it made the nut roast very sweet. You obviously wouldn't want to use almonds because it tastes like marzipan if you did that. So yeah, grind those down. Okay, now I need to make some breadcrumbs. I've got a nice quality wholemeal sourdough here. So I'm going to cut a chunky slice, not too much. The original recipe that I stole this idea from said to use 50% breadcrumbs and 50% nuts, but I don't do that. I do about 30%, 25% breadcrumbs, sort of, you know, 60-70% nuts or whatever. So I just do like a kind of fairly thick slice, chop that up, put that in the food processor and turn that into breadcrumbs. Okay, so here are my breadcrumbs. Fairly fine. I'll mix them in with the nuts. Okay, over to the mushroom, onion and garlic. This has actually been on for about 5 minutes now. You want to make sure that the mushrooms are cooked down quite a lot so they're not all big and juicy. So give them a good 5 minutes of cooking, or however long it takes to get them, you know, sort of so they're not leaching loads of water, so that they're sort of fried off nicely. And then into that you need to add about a cup of plain flour, maybe just under, about half, sort of like a large half a cup maybe, something like that, and give that a stir. Okay, so cook the flour in for about a minute or so, make sure that everything's covered in the flour, and then I've got just over half a pint of stock here, so just going to start adding some of this. This is, I use this Swiss bouillon stock thing here, which is nice. So stock goes in bit by bit. And what you're making here is a nice thick sauce. Okay, that's very thick. A bit more stock. This is where all of your flavour is, in this thick sauce. It needs to taste strong and salty because this flavours all of the nuts and the breadcrumbs. You want it nice and thick so that it holds the nuts and breadcrumbs together nicely. You don't want it sloppy. You want it nice. See how that's nice and really quite thick. Just cook it for a minute or so that it thickens up. Into this you want to add some soy sauce. Be generous. Again, you want it to be tasty. Mix the soy sauce in. I'm also going to add some nutritional yeast flakes, which have added B vitamins in them. These taste sort of savoury, a little bit sort of cheesy, I suppose, but not really cheesy, but they're savoury flavoured and they're good for you, but you don't need to add these. But they do add a nice savoury flavour, and like I say, they've got B12 in them, which is good. Into a nice thick, heavy sauce. Have a taste. It needs to be salty and strong flavoured. Bit more soy sauce there just to add some more flavour. You can add salt as well if you want. The stock that I use doesn't have added salt in it, so I've gone quite heavy with the soy sauce, but again, just taste it. Yep, it has to be strong flavoured. Can turn the heat off now because that's kind of done. Make sure it's nice and thick. It needs to be thick, otherwise you end up with a sloppy nut roast. And then into this, the breadcrumbs and the nuts, and then mix. Like so. Mix it all together. Get the oven on to about 175 degrees. Stick this in a greased loaf tin. Put it in the oven, set 175 degrees for about 45 minutes, and it's done. So you can see this is it's nice and solid, and you see you can put that, pack that into a roasting tin, 175 degrees, 45 minutes. Take it out of the oven, let it cool for about 10 or 15 minutes to firm up. And serve with roast potatoes and whatever. Lovely.